Okay, well, so I think what we need to do then is start off on our back, and we'll do a little bit of warm up, and we're going to come into use the strap. So if you want to put a blanket under your head, you could do that. And we'll lie down on our back. You can put your head towards me and then have your strap handy so that you can use that strap. And then if you have your two blocks and can bring them down with you too, put one on each side of your mat so that those are there as well. And then we'll have just plenty of support for us to come down into that space on our mat as we start just a hip practice that will help to just target some of this. Currently, we've got this snow and ice, so we've got some of that soreness happening, but also some outer hip attention is needed. So we're going to pay a little attention to the internal and external rotators on the hip. So as you come onto your back, just take a moment here to set up for that gravity shift. So you can start to feel a little decompression starts to happen along the spine. So those vertebrae all along the spine are having a little bit more room here. You could have the legs stretched out long, or the knees could be bent with the feet on the ground, either way. And then just turn your head a little bit from side to side to help cue your body that we're releasing the weight here. And as you're turning your head, you might start to feel the rest of the body start to relax into the ground a little bit, which is what we're hoping for. Good. And then we'll bend the knees if you have them stretched out long. Plant your feet on the ground. Draw your right knee into your chest and grab either the hands on the back of the right thigh or up on the top of the right knee. And you could always use your strap there too, if that's better. And what we'll do is just bobble the right hip around a little bit. So you might be moving the right knee a little side to side. You might kind of just be gently pulsing, bouncing the right leg. We're trying to give a little attention to the hip joint and allow that right hip to relax a little. Yeah. Great. And then notice as you're here, if it's okay to stretch your left leg out long, you can reach the left heel away from your head and get a stretch through that front of that left hip flexor. If you do that and it feels funky in your low back, or it starts to really take away from the relaxation happening in the right hip, then just bend your left knee and put your left foot back on the ground again. Good. We're just going to take a couple more breaths here. Good. And then if you've straightened out the left leg, bend your left knee again, plant your left foot on the ground and take your right heel across and over to figure four. So now I'm going to place that right heel on the opposite side of the left leg. And then I could put my right hand on my right leg and try to press my right knee away from me a little bit if I need a little more intensity, or I could support myself there just by holding onto that leg. And you might sway back and forth a little bit so that the left knee is kind of rocking from one side to the other because you've got your leg, your heel propped up on that. That rocks the right leg as well. And just feeling out as you move, especially when your right heel drops towards the ground, if you're feeling a little stretch in that outer hip. If you push the right knee away, you might feel even a little bit more stretch. Just starting to kind of play around with that space on the outer hip. Good. And you could always skip that rocking if it's too much. And we're taking one more breath here. And then as we come back into the center, we'll grab a hold of the right leg and lift it up towards the ceiling. And now this is where you can grab your strap. You can put the strap around the foot, so around the ball mound of that right foot, and see if you can find a vertical position so the right heel is stacked right over top of the right sits bone, that bone at the end of your pelvis. Good. And then bend your right knee a little bit. Good. See if you can grab the strap in a way that the shoulders stay relaxed. So maybe you're holding on with one hand or two hands, but that the chest is nice and wide. Good. Straighten the leg as much as it works for you. Push up against the strap. And then exhale and bend the knee and just release out of that. So we inhale, straighten the leg, push the heel up towards the ceiling, straightening that leg as much as it works. And then exhale, bend the right knee and let your knee move towards your chest so your foot can stay high. Good. And then we're inhaling, lifting back up against the strap. So we're trying to kind of lengthen out of the joint as we straighten the leg. And your leg might not straighten fully. We want to push up against the ball mound where that strap is on the foot. And we're going to do one more time, exhaling to bend the knee and then inhaling to stretch the leg up. Good. Grab the strap with your right hand. And now you might want your blocks here. With your left knee still bent, drop your left knee over to the left side. And you can put your block underneath that left leg to help support it in kind of a half butterfly. And then we're going to take this right leg in its extended position and draw it out to the right side. And again, you could use your block. It might even be at the highest height. You might not get anywhere near a block, and that's okay too. So if I'm up a little higher, I'm able to hold with the strap and help support. If I get down low, that block might be helpful. And we're taking one more breath here. Let your left knee drop open as much as it works for you. And then we're going to draw the right leg back up into the center. You can move that block if it's been helping. Let the left knee come up to the center. Bend your right knee, put the right foot down beside the left, and then pause for a moment to breathe. So I might stretch both my legs out long in a Shavasana. As I take 4 or 5 breaths here, I might have my knees bent so that my feet are on the ground, and I could take some breaths there. And I'm just noticing one side and the other so that before I move to the second side, I can know what I need to watch out for a little too. I'm going to take one more breath here, releasing the weight of the head into the ground, and then taking that left knee into the chest. So maybe grabbing behind the knee, maybe grabbing on the shin, on the top of the knee. And we're just giving some gentle pulsing, kind of a bobbling around of that left leg so that the hip joint has a chance to soften if possible. We're trying to allow the femur bone, the thigh bone, to come in and be in contact with that hip socket so that everything can communicate. And then also if there's been some tension, something really holding tight, this little movement might help to release that too. Now, maybe I continue to do it just like that, or I might straighten my right leg out so that the front of my right hip flexor is wide open, and then I can continue with that little bit of movement. Maybe the knee moves a little to one side and to the other side. I might be doing this with my breath, that steady, even breath, or it might just be whatever movement you're called to do. And then we'll rebend the right knee if you've straightened that leg out. Cross the left leg over for figure 4. And just press the left knee away from you. So I could grab higher up on the leg if that works, or if my arm can reach to that left knee, I can push it away that way. And then a little bit of swaying of the right knee from side to side so that the whole contraption of the legs is moving from the right side and to the left side and back and forth. And then just noticing the outside edges of your hips as you're moving here. And especially if the left heel comes down pretty close to the ground, noticing the outside edge of that left foot. Good, and just noticing also any other sensations you might have in here. So as we're stretching the hips, all those hip muscles are connected up into the low back and down into the knees. So watching out for that. If you need to flex the ankles and toes, could always do that to help protect the knees a little. And then we'll come back into the center. And we're going to lift the left leg up, put the strap around the ball mound of the left foot. Bend your left knee as much as you need to find a vertical position. So we're trying to allow that thigh bone to drop right down into the hip socket. Good. And then holding the strap in a way that you feel like you can relax the upper body a little bit. The head is still soft on that blanket or that mat. And then as you bend your knee, keep your foot high, but just let your knee kind of soften towards your belly. And then as we inhale, we'll straighten the leg, push up through the strap. So push into the ball mound of the foot. And then exhale, bend the knee, soften that effort. And inhale to press up. And as though you're pressing the left hip down into the ground as you push the foot up towards the ceiling. We exhale, soften, and we inhale to press. Good. So this is just a really gentle activation of the back of the left leg that we're doing here. We'll do it about 2 or 3 more breaths, pressing up into the strap, straightening the leg as much as it works for your body, at the same time that you're pushing down through the back of the left hip. I'm going to take one more time, finding a straight enough position, and then grabbing the strap with your left hand. Drop your right knee over to the right and maybe use a block underneath there to support that half butterfly. And then dropping the left leg open to the left. And maybe you've got a block to catch that left leg if it opens a long ways. Or maybe you're not anywhere near a block, and that is fine too. And think about pushing into the strap a little bit so that you're lengthening your leg out of the hip joint just a little bit as we stay. And then that will also allow the strap to help hold the leg up for you. And we're taking one more breath here. And then as we exhale, we'll bring that back up to the center. Allow the foot to come down to the ground, the knee to come back to center, and then pausing here for 3 or 4 breaths, either with the knees up to the ceiling, just like that, or you could straighten the legs out and come into a Shavasana. And we're just trying to, again, notice how that left side is feeling now. Notice any effect that that's had on the body so that we can make good decisions as we keep moving forward. Good. And then as we pause here, maybe just set an intention for your practice today. So especially if you have a body part that needs some attention, direct energy there. And if there's something else in your mind or heart that you'd just like to put that intention towards. Holding space for whatever's important to you, even just in the back of your mind during practice. And then if the legs are stretched out long, you can bend the knees, roll over onto your side, and then start to work your way up into a tabletop position. And you might take your blanket and bring it underneath your knees if you want a little bit of extra softness. And then we'll come to our tabletop position and just invite some movement that feels good to you for about 6 to 8 breaths. So that you have some time. Maybe you want to move the spine in a cat and cow, and you can move that way. Maybe some kind of rolling the chest down and then rounding up feels better. You could also just very gently rock the hips back towards the heels and then come back forward to table. And that would be a way to just warm up the spine very gradually. So whatever movement you choose, just finding that movement as a way to come into your breath and your body, noticing the breath moving in. If you can breathe through the nose, welcome you to do that. A steady, even pace. We'll take maybe one more breath here, whatever movement feels good to you. Great. Okay, and then take your blocks up to the top of your mat, put them at the medium height. And we're going to place our forearms down on our blocks. You can sort of interlace the hands together if you'd like. Just going to create a little bit of a different support. And then pressing into the forearms. And depending on your arm length, you might want them at the lower height too. I have pretty short arms. You can press down into the forearms and feel the belly engage just a little bit. Shift your left knee right over next to the right knee so it's in the center of the body. And then extend your right leg back behind you. Good. And then flexing through your ankles and toes, lift your right heel up towards the ceiling. And see if you, as you do that, if you can keep your right hip facing towards the ground. So we're keeping the right toes facing downward, the right hip moving downward. Everything's kind of squared towards the ground. Good. Now bend your right knee. And with that position with the right knee bent, your heel is up towards the ceiling right now. And then see if you can push your right heel up a little bit more towards the ceiling. So strong glute activation right here. Keep the right hip facing down. We take one more breath in here. Now as we exhale, we'll counter pose. Bring the right knee forward towards your nose, round through your back a little bit. Push the top of the right foot into the ground so that you can even kind of press up a little bit like a cat back. And then we'll lower both knees onto the ground, step out so that you're about as wide as your hips. And then what I'm going to have you do is just stand up on your hands on your blocks and walk your blocks forward for a big stretch through the shoulders. So for some bodies, it'll feel really good to tuck your toes under and then kind of press into the blocks. You come into basically like a downward dog on your knees. This is active puppy with the blocks. You might want to just put your hands all the way down on the floor if it feels like you can get more of a stretch that way. We're taking one more breath here. It's pretty active. Good. And then we'll lower our hands to the ground and come to rest now. So relaxed puppy is tops of the feet on the ground, hips stay high, and then I can just rest my head down. So that gives me lots of space in the knees. There's no compression there. Or I could bring my hips all the way down to my heels and come into child's pose and just bring my hands back underneath to help support me there. So we're just resting for a couple more breaths, letting the neck and the shoulders relax as much as possible after that work. Good, and then we'll rise back up again and set up for that other side here. So as we prep the blocks coming down into the forearms and feeling a little strength there, stepping the right knee into the center line and extending the left leg back behind. Yeah, good. And then lifting the left leg up so that as you lift it up, we're keeping the left toes pointing downward. The left hip is moving downward even. You feel the belly pull up into the body. And you're looking down at the ground, reaching out through the head. Bend your left knee so that your heel comes up towards the ceiling. And then maybe you even add in pushing the left heel upward towards the ceiling to really feel the back of the left leg engaging. Good. Pull the belly in towards the body and take one more breath. And then exhale, bring the left knee in towards your nose, place the top of the left foot on the ground. And you can round over just a little bit if that works for you. And then release out of it. Good. Walk the blocks forward one more time, tucking your toes under, active puppy. So I can use the blocks to give me a little bit more height and try to expand the front of the shoulders, the front of the chest. I'm trying to have a really long line here between the wrists, the shoulders, and the hips as the hips shoot back towards the back of the mat. Take one more breath here and then turn that into a resting pose. Bring the hands down to your mat and you could take that relaxed puppy or you could take child's pose. And as you're breathing here, see if you can soften your belly so that as you're breathing in, the belly softens and expands. And as you're breathing out, there's a natural pull of the belly button back towards the spine. And you could even accentuate it a little bit here just to really notice activation through the abdomen, inhaling to soften the belly, and then exhaling a little gentle pulling in to feel that center. And take one more breath here. And then we'll inhale and come up into tabletop position. So now we'll take our blocks and just use them for our lunge. And the left leg can stay down on the mat and the right leg steps forward. And we'll find our lunge position with that right leg. Yeah. So the blocks could be at the highest height. That might work right for you, or you could have them at any of those other places too. Yeah, if you have really long arms, your hands might be on the ground, but it's really good to have contact with something here. Good. Yeah. And then we'll stretch into the back of the leg by exhaling and shift the hips back. You can flex through your ankles and toes in the front. And then step back onto your right foot and come back forward, press the left hip forward. Good. So we'll do it just like that a couple of times so that we just can feel as we're moving here, the back of the leg getting a stretch. And then when you come forward, press the left hip forward and see if you can get a little stretch on that left side. So we stretch back. Good. And the spine can stay longer. You can drop the head over and that's fine. We come forward. Good. Now that might be plenty. You could continue to move just like that. If you want to add on a little, when you come forward to your lunge, you could bring the hands up to the front leg or even lift them over your head. And as you exhale and come down, we'll bring the hands back down to support as you shift back into half split. So we're inhaling to come forward to lunge. Choosing if you'd like to lift the chest and the arms, and then exhaling to bow back down and find that way into half split. Good. We're just going to take 2 more times. If it turns out you need more than just a half breath to get into that lunge and really find it, feel free to take an extra breath. I'm just trying to feel out what's working for you. Yeah, and really don't feel like you have to push yourself too far here. So we're just warming up into the body and noticing one space and the other. Yeah. Good. And the next time that you come forward to lunge, we're going to stay in that lunge for a moment. Find the hands on the blocks and then look down at your left knee, tuck your left toes under and lift the left knee up. Step your left foot over to the left and forward a few inches each direction. And we're finding warrior 1. So each leg gets its own lane, and I can bring my hands up to the front leg, to the hips, and then help myself all the way up. Yeah. And we'll just be in warrior one for a little bit here to warm up. So the right hip pulls back, the left hip comes forward. And you can lift the left arm up high and feel that long connection between the left pinky finger down through the left hip and into the left ankle. Yep. And then maybe you add the right arm as well, if that feels okay to you. Both shoulders and hips looking forward. And we're just staying for 2 more breaths. Grounding down through your feet and lifting up through the spine. And the next exhale will bring everything back down to your mat. So we bring the hands back down. You can lower that left knee onto the ground. Swing the right leg around back behind you. Good. And then decide here if between sides it would be good to be in your tabletop. You could move through cat and cow. Maybe you want to tuck your toes and lift up into downward dog. You could pedal your feet out a little bit in down dog. Take any movement that feels good to you there. A third option would be to just build a little bit of heat. You could come forward to plank, maybe lowering your knees or coming down on your forearms even if that's better. But we're going to take about 3 more breaths before we think about stepping that left foot forward to our lunge and just doing what it is that you feels like your body needs right now. Okay, 1 more breath and we'll join together with that left leg coming forward to lunge, the right knee on the ground. So we can start the other side. Yeah, great. Good. Yeah. As you're working the left leg forward, hands on the blocks, and you find your lunge. And then as we exhale, we'll just straighten through that left leg, extend back, and then inhale to come forward to the lunge. Good. And if it works for you to flex your ankles and toes on the left side, it can be just a nice way to stretch out the bottoms of the feet. If we've got snow and ice out on the ground, even though we're in our boots, we kind of slide around inside our boots. Our feet get a little workout. Good. And just noticing that movement back and forth. That might be just right for you to be tuning into the back of the left leg as you stretch back, and then feel that right hip flexor stretching when you come forward to lunge. If you want to add a little more, you can start to lift up, come to that lunge, hands come to the front leg, open the chest, exhaling, hands come down and bow. Maybe you're even lifting the arms all the way up so that when you come forward, the arms come up overhead to add more uplift, more stretch on that right hip flexor, exhaling to come back down. Good. We've got 2 or 3 more times. You move in the way that feels right for you. Good. Just taking care of the hips and the low back, noticing how they're feeling as you're moving. Great work. Maybe 1 more time and we'll stay in that lunge. So the next time you find your lunge, pause there. Find the hands supported by the blocks, and then look down at the right knee. We'll tuck the right toes under, lift the knee, step the right foot to the right and forward a few inches, and then rise up into warrior one. And each leg gets its own lane so that the hips can be forward. Good. And then start just by raising the right arm up. And notice the right side of the body really long here as you're trying to push down into that right heel, bending into the left knee. Maybe the left arm lifts up. And you could be there with both arms up in your traditional warrior one. And we're thinking about lifting, then brightening the chest as we continue to root down through the feet, pressing the ground away to make space for yourself. Good. Take 1 more breath here. And then exhaling, bringing your hands all the way down. And we'll have 1 more time here where we just have like a little pause. So as you come down, you might take tabletop position, some cat and cow. You might decide that you want to be in downward dog or plank. We're going to meet up in a resting pose, and you might feel like it's a good idea for you to head right to that resting pose. And in that case, you could lower your head down and take that relaxed puppy or child's pose. Or if there's a different way that you want to rest, maybe if you're congested and you want to be sitting up, you could definitely do that too. So feel free to take your time. We'll meet up in a resting pose in 1 or 2 more breaths. If you're already there, and start tuning into your breath. See if you can soften your belly on your inhale. And then allow that strength, that centering to come in on the exhale. Good. Yeah, so we can just meet up, whatever resting pose is good for you. And take one more breath here. Maybe remember your intention. And then we'll come back up into tabletop. Set your blocks up at the top of your mat so they're at the highest height. And then we'll work our way back into that lunge, stepping the right foot forward, helping yourself up from this position here, tucking the back toes and lifting into a crescent lunge. And I could do this with my back knee on the ground still, if that's better, or I could have that knee lifted for a little bit more work. And then I could keep my hands down and stay there for 3 or 4 breaths, or I could lift up and extend all the way through the front of the body. Maybe just the left arm lifts, maybe both arms lift. Maybe I interlace my hands with the pointer fingers pointing up to really pull the rib cage up and out. We're taking one more breath here. And then as we exhale, bring your hands back down towards your blocks. Look down at your left knee and step your left foot forward a little bit and walk your blocks forward that amount. So I'm coming in towards a warrior 3 variation. So I'm going to have my hands on the blocks and I could keep my left toe on the ground or I could lift it up. Again, my left hip faces towards the ground. I can flex my ankles and toes back there on that left side, push back through the leg. At any point, I could put the foot back down if I need to. I'm trying to build that work on the right side. So as you're standing on that right leg, the more you bring your left hip down towards the ground, the more you'll feel that work. We're trying to activate places so that they can release if they're tight. You could always let your left hip lift up a little bit if that's too much. We're taking one more breath, warrior 3. And then exhaling, we'll bring the left leg back down into your lunge position. Good. Lower your left knee down onto the ground. Bring your right hand onto the inside of the right leg so that we can swing our right leg all the way around to the back of the mat and come into a kneeling side plank. So now my right hand could lift up to my right hip. Good. And now I might choose to keep my hand on the block, or I could lower my hand all the way down to the ground. So it just depends on what sort of an arch you want in the side body or what sort of a shoulder support you want. Good. Bring your right fingers up to your right shoulder. Bend your elbow here and then just make some circles with your elbow just to kind of stir the shoulder. Good. The whole time we're doing this, we're breathing into that right hip, that right sideways to see if we can get a big space there in the outside of the hip. Good. And if you've been stirring just one direction, maybe stir the other way now. Keep pushing down through the left hand so you have some integrity in the shoulder. Good. And then we're going to take a little balance. Push into your left hand. Bring your right elbow up to the ceiling. You could stay like that, or you could reach your right arm all the way up. And then see if you can lift your right foot off the ground. Again, we're activating those muscles on the outer hip, getting them ready to stretch. We're taking one more breath here. And then we'll exhale and lower everything back down. You can bring yourself back down onto your mat in your tabletop position. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Tuck your tail, tuck your chin. Good. And do that 2 more times. Inhale, cow pose. Maybe you exhale out your mouth as you round to your cat. Take one more time, maybe noticing if one side of the body feels different than the other. Then inhaling to tabletop position. Good. And then we'll step the right leg forward. Wait, is that the side we just did? Step the left leg forward. There we go. So we're on the side we didn't get to do yet. Excellent. Okay, so we're lunging here. Great. Look down at the right knee, tuck your right toes under and lift that back knee up. Come into your crescent lunge. Stay just like this with your hands firmly on the blocks, or lift your arms up if you'd like. So we can come up, hands could be on that front leg too. Try to straighten through the back leg so you get a nice big stretch through your hip flexor. We're taking one more breath here. Then as we exhale, we'll bring the hands to the blocks. Step your right foot forward a little bit, and then bring your hands forward. Keep your right foot on the ground, lengthen through the spine, and take that version of warrior 3. Again, we're trying to just really activate that left outer hip, so that would work. Or I could lift my right foot up Trying to come parallel to the ground with my whole body extending out. Good. And I'm just using full support on the blocks because I really want that left leg to get some work. So I'm going to press down through the left foot, keep the right hip facing down as I take 2 more breaths here. We'll step back into lunge in 1 more breath. Lowering the right foot all the way back down into that long crescent lunge. Good. And then lowering the right knee down onto the ground. Good. Walk your hands onto the inside of the left leg. Swing the left leg all the way around to the back. And then take kneeling side plank on that opposite side. So we've got the left hand can come up to the left hip. Great. Yeah. And your hand could be on the block or the floor. And then left fingers come up to your left shoulder and start to just stir that shoulder a little bit. So as we're moving the arm here, we're also opening up the muscle fibers up in the top of the torso and the upper back. So we're just using that movement as a chance to kind of tune into that space. You might notice the more your elbow lifts away from your left hip, the bigger the space, the stretches on that left side of the body. If you've been stirring one way, stir the other way a little bit because we're almost all done. Great. And then we'll come in to find a side balance here. So maybe left fingers up to the, or sorry, yeah, left fingers could come up to the sky or the elbow could come to the sky. And then you might lift the left foot off the ground any amount to activate into that outer left hip. Great. Yes. Push the ground away. Make space for you. Last breath. As you exhale, just return everything down to the ground. Good. And then coming into tabletop position. Great. Downward dog. Lift your hips up. Give your knees a break. Pedal out 1 foot and then the other. Good. Maybe lift your heels really high and then lower your heels back towards the ground to stretch into the back. Good. Of the leg. Great. And we're finally going to walk up to come standing here. So if you've got a blanket down, you can move the blanket out of the way. You can keep your head hanging over as you make your way to the top of your mat. Inhale, take a little half lift and lengthen. And then exhale, place your forearms just above the knees and forward fold. That's ragdoll. You can have the knees a little bent. I could also grab my elbows and hang the elbows down with a little bend in the knees and take that version of ragdoll if that feels better. Good. So either way, my head is really relaxed here. And I'm just enjoying a little space in the upper back as I ground through the feet. 1 more breath. Good. And then we'll drop the hips down for chair pose. Reach the arms forward, or you could put the hands on the legs if that's better. And as we exhale, swing the fingers towards the back and just come a little bit more diagonal into your chair. Inhale, stand tall, swinging your arms up to lift you. And then exhale, open the arms wide and down. Good. So we'll just do a little bit of half salute here. As we inhale, raise the arms. As we exhale, push the hips back, bend your knees as much as you need to fold forward and down. Inhale, push against the legs, half lift, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold forward and down. Again, you could have those knees bent if you need to. Inhale, chair pose, drop the hips down as you bend the knees, lift the chest. Exhale, deepen your chair, and we're going to swing the arms back on this, deepening the chair like we're skiing down the mountain. Inhale, lifting up tall. And exhale, open the arms wide. Good, we're going to do that 1 more time. Inhale, raise the arms, maybe look up towards the hands. Exhale, forward fold, press the hips back. Good, long spine here. Inhale, half lift. Draw the shoulder blades together, reach up through the head. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, bring the fingertips back, deepen your chair. Inhale, stand tall, swinging all the way up, maybe a little back bend. And exhale, hands come down by your sides. Good, and then just pausing in your mountain pose. Do we need the fans on? Is it pretty warm?
No, yes.
Okay. If you want to, you can turn that fan on right back there, Heidi. There's a little silver button. And this fan up here, Kathy, if you want to point that one at you, you can certainly point that one out and turn it on. Yeah. We get it heated up in here.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Great. So we'll place our hands on our hips. And I'm going to walk you into a few different options here. So we'll shift over onto the left foot. And then bend your right knee so your weight is over on the left foot and step your right foot back a little bit with the ball of the foot still on the ground. Yeah. So I'm going to stretch into my foot a little bit. So I can decide just how much that might be, how much I want to take my foot back so that I can be here with those hips forward. Yep. And I'm feeling a little stretch in my foot, and then I'm going to concentrate this more on my hip. So I can bring my hands to the back of my hips and start to open my chest if that feels okay. Now, if that feels like lifting the eyes isn't a choice for you, keep the eyes down and just press the hips forward a little bit here. And where your fingertips are on your glute here, see if you can engage the glute a little bit. So think about squeezing the right side of the glutes to help you out here. Good. And then we're going to exhale so that we can come out of that bending both knees, stepping both feet forward into your mountain pose. Good. And then just give everything a little bit of shake out. So as we have the hands on the feet and just noticing the toe joints and everything that we were kind of putting some pressure into, we'll shift over onto the right foot and then take the left leg and extend it back behind. And as you do that, try to find the distance that's right for you, where we can be way up on the ball of the foot, but we can put a little bit of weight back onto that foot and start to feel that stretch. Then you can bring the hands to the back of the pelvis, draw the elbows together, start to open the chest. And it's almost as though I'm putting a little bit more weight on my back foot as I open my chest and lift my chin up. And it's a tricky balancing pose. So keep the eyes forward if you need to. If you can lift the gaze a little bit more, you could do that too. We take one more breath. And then as we're exhaling, bending into the knees and stepping back forward again and giving everything a little shake out after that work in the feet. Great. So shift over onto the left foot. We're going to come back to the right foot. Now this time, what I'm going to do is turn my foot upside down. So I'm not crunching just my toes. I'm having my foot come back behind me enough that I can stretch the front of my ankle. And if for any reason this feels like balance is really tricky and that doesn't work for you, you can do this with your hands on the blocks and just come down this way so that you can press the top of the foot in there. We're only going to be here for another moment, just so that you know. We're just pressing gently into the top of the foot, maybe thinking about that same feeling of a little bit of a back bend, and then we'll come back in underneath and then feel out how that feels. So, and again, we're not just crunching on the toes, it's the whole ankle that's getting that space. So as you step that foot back behind you to try out this other side, we bring the foot far enough back. I can bend my left knee and just have a stretch across that space from the toe joint all the way up towards the knee. And I could have my hands on the blocks or on the wall too. Yeah. And then just let go of that and just give it a little shake out. Yeah. And then maybe you just have some different activation, sense of activation in the feet. You can kind of feel out how that feels for you. Good. We'll take a half salute. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, take a half flight, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, fold forward. Good. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, deepen your chair. You can swing those arms back. Inhale, stand tall. Press the hips forward. Open the front of the body. Exhale, arms down by your sides. Good. Okay, so we're going to take figure 4 balance. And you could do this at the wall by putting your hips against the wall. You could do this on a chair by sitting down on a chair. But we'll take it where we can shift onto the left foot and then turn the right leg out. And I could stand right on the instep and keep my legs low. And I'm working to build muscles on that left side at the same time that I'm stretching out to the right side. Or I can pull my right heel up and over my left knee and take it into that figure 4 shape. Yeah, great. So I'm sitting down in my chair, and then I can bring hands to heart center, press the heels of the hands together to help find that center line and balance. Great. Good. Yeah, and the more you sit back, the hips moving back away from the shoulders, the more you're going to feel that stretch in the deep rotators. Last breath here. Inhale, stand tall, put both feet on the ground, lift up, exhale out your mouth. Go ahead and taking a breath in and out. Good. So we'll come to that opposite side now. So standing onto the right leg as we sit down in the chair, I could turn my left leg out and step right on top of my arch of my foot. I might stay just like that, or I might slide the foot up and over the knee so that I could be in that figure 4 stretch that way. Yeah, good. And we're trying to think about pressing the hips back so that we can get that stretch into the hip. Breathing here. One more breath before we move out, standing on both feet. Inhale and exhale out your mouth and release down. Good. So step your feet about as wide as your mat. Place your hands on the back of your pelvis so that you can inhale and open the front of the body. And then we exhale, forward fold, press the hips back, slide the hands down. You could find your blocks and use your blocks into your hands. Or if you've got enough range of motion, you could put your forearms on your blocks and then maybe bend the knees a little so you can rest your head on your forearms. You might also choose a totally different arm position that serves you, and you could do that here. Good. And then just checking in with the inner and outer hip one more time. Bend your right knee and lean your hips over to the right a little bit. And then come back into the center. And bend the left knee and lean the hips over to the left a little bit. Good. And then if that feels good to you, do that one more time on each side. Just feeling out that space in the outer hip and the inner leg. Good. And then you can bring your hands down towards the ground to help you down. Coming back through your downward dog, stretching through the legs. And then coming all the way into a seated position. Good. Yeah, great. And then in the seated position, we're going to grab our bolster. So you can bring your bolster around so that it's in front of you and available for what we're going to do here. Good. So we'll cross the legs. Let's put the left leg in front. So the left leg's in front in our cross-legged seat. We've got the ankles kind of out under the knees. And then you can flex your ankles and toes a little bit just to help protect the knees. Rock a little from side to side so you can feel where your sits bones are. And see if you can bring your belly button in front of your pelvis. So we're hip hinging to start with. And then from that place, my hips are pretty tight today. I would put my elbows on my knees and I would just stay right there, catching my forehead with my hands. You might take your bolster and put it up and just catch your head on your bolster. So I can put the corner of my bolster on and I could have it the long ways and catch it up that way. You might have your bolster laying down at any of those heights so that I can come forward a little bit more. But I just want to have the head supported. So whichever version that I can allow the knees to drop open, the belly to soften on my inhale to really help those hips relax and soften into that space. Yeah, and then the head is supported so that the upper back and the neck can signal to the body it's okay to relax here. So remember, we always have this connection between tightness in the jaw and tightness in the pelvic floor. So if we can keep the jaw really soft, it's going to help to release the tightness in the hips. Good, and I might stay exactly like that. Or with my left leg in front, I might decide to take my bolster over to the left just a little bit and reach through my left arm so that I can have more of a stretch. So if my bolster was up high, I can reach my left arm diagonally across. If my bolster was down low, I can move it over a little to the left and then just reach my arm diagonally away from that hip. Yeah, we're just coming into a little bit deeper stretch that connects the low back and the outer hip down together. Yeah, finding what works for your body. Taking a last breath here. If you've given that little bit of a twist, just bring yourself back again to the center. Push into the ground and support yourself as you come all the way back up again. And then take both knees up towards the ceiling with the feet on the ground. Yeah. And just windshield wiper your legs a little bit. So we're just moving back and forth. Good. And then we'll take the right leg in front and we'll do the same thing on the other side. And we'll see how equal they are or if they're not equal at all. So yeah, finding what works for you. So ankles kind of out in the front, rock on the sits bones, start with that hip hinge. Maybe you're supporting the head just with the elbows down. If you can use that bolster. As we stay in this longer supported forward fold, the bolster just signals to the body that we're really safe to relax here a little bit. And we're trying to allow the body to soften into the ground as much as possible. So the hips and the knees just giving into gravity and moving downward. So if the position is really uncomfortable, make some adjustments so that you can be just a little bit more peaceful here. Maybe softening the belly as you inhale. Getting that stretch in the hips kind of from the inside out. Now I could stay just like this, or if I wanted to, I could give just a little support so I can move my bolster over to the left side a little bit with my right leg in front. And then I could reach through that right arm out at a diagonal away from the hip. So I'm trying to extend into that stretch in any way that works for you. And my bolster might be up high. Or it might be down low. Yeah, it might be all the way on the ground even. As we're taking just a couple more breaths here, see if you can soften even just a tiny bit more, allowing your body to accept gravity's pull. And then bring yourself back to the center if you've taken that gentle twist. Help yourself up into the middle. And then bringing the knees up one more time, just sway a little bit from side to side. And this time you might step the feet a little wider so that you get just a little bit more hip stretch. Good. Great. And then we'll bring the feet back underneath. Sit up tall on the hips, grabbing onto the shins. Just feel the body recentering for a moment. Imagine your knees are moving towards one another as though you were squeezing an invisible ball, reaching up through the spine. Good. And then we'll draw the legs over to the left side for sage twist. So the shin could come right down onto there. You could also open this up in a deer pose if that feels better for you. You could always straighten out that left leg too, if that's what's best. We inhale and lengthen up and exhale, twist to the right. So my left hand could be on my left knee, or it might be across the body on my right knee. My right hand can step back behind, and the weight of my body is on my right hip. So my left hip can actually lift up and kind of move with me as I'm just taking a final twist for the practice. And I'm taking 2 more breaths here, seeing if you can soften into the pose just a little bit each exhale. And then inhaling, looking back forward again, coming back to the center. Step your feet up in front of you. And then shift to the opposite side so that the legs come over to the right and we'll sit on the left hip. Okay. Inhaling and then exhale to twist. Yeah, great. Good modifications for your body. Good. And the weight of the body's on that left hip, so the right hip can move with you as you're turning and twisting, just opening one last time here, centering with the twist. One more breath. Good. And then we'll exhale and return the head back to center. Bring the feet back in front. One last time, centering breath, inhaling to lengthen, and exhaling. Good. So for Shavasana, I'm going to give you an option to use a whole bunch of props. If you know you don't want to take Queen's pose, you could just come into the Shavasana of your choice. But to support the hips, this one is just a little gentle back bend and then a hip opener. So if you wanted to, you can set this up. We put one block at the highest height and one block at the lowest height. So we make like a little L, and I'm doing it kind of diagonally so you can see, but you could just do it right up at the top of your mat. And then your bolster sits on the top of that so that there's some support from both the blocks as it makes a ramp. And then there's a few choices here, all of which tend to feel really good. If you wanted to take a butterfly position with the legs, you could unfold a blanket and then just sort of make it into a crunchy shape here. I do think you should have one blanket at the top of your ramp so that you don't end up in like a totally upside down back bend, but you can see how that feels on your body. And then I could lay back and just use that blanket and allow my legs to be bent or straight, like in a Shavasana here. Or I could bend the knees with the bottoms of the feet together, and then I put that blanket to like wrap my legs up. I can sit on my blanket here and it'll hold my feet close to me at the same time that it supports my hips. So that's an option if that feels good. External rotation of the hip joint and back bend are partners. So when we externally rotate, we naturally want to back bend and vice versa. So that can be a way to cue the body into that opening. Yeah, and if you feel like there isn't enough support or something isn't quite right, give me a wave and I can come over and help you out. I could get more things off of the shelf for you too if you're in the studio. Support your legs. There you go. I'm just going to offer a little support for your legs here. So this way, if you don't mind that. As you're starting to unwind in that position, just notice if you need to make adjustments, if you need to move for any reason, know that you're welcome to do that. If it's okay for your body to move into that space of stillness, you can invite that space of stillness too. Let's try this. We're allowing the back of the head to be supported. And if you're in that butterfly position, the Baddha Konasana position, just seeing if the knees can open a little bit more and release tension or effort that might be there. And then noticing as your body is exhaling. We're not controlling the exhale, we're just noticing as your body exhales. If we can accept the support of the props just a little more as the body exhales. And again, at any point, if you need to change position, feel free to change the position that serves you best as we continue to rest. I'll name some points in the body, and you can simply bring your awareness there. You can just think about that part of the body. Or if you'd like, you can imagine a little point of light in the place that I name. You're also free to ignore me and continue floating in your own way if that's serving you best. You might bring awareness to the center of the brain, the space right at the top of the spine, behind the eyes, between the ears. Awareness to the center of the brain. Bringing awareness to the center of the throat. Awareness to the center of the chest, the space in the spinal column at the center of the chest. Awareness in the upper abdomen. Point in the spinal column in the upper abdomen. Awareness at the navel center, the place in the spinal column behind the belly button. Awareness in the low belly, the space in the spinal column in the low belly. Bringing awareness to the base of the spine, awareness down to the tailbone, the pelvic floor. And then slowly moving awareness back up that string of pearls along the spine, from the base of the spine to the low belly, the navel center, the upper belly, the center of the chest, center of the throat, center of the brain, and then back down the string of pearls. Maybe noting those same points in the spinal column as you move down to the base of the spine, or maybe just sliding down the spine and then sliding awareness back up to the center of the brain. And our spinal column is our central operator, opening communication in our nervous system with all parts of the body. And just bringing awareness to this open flow of communication. Inviting balance and connection for the whole body. Just noticing if there's a space in your body that needs a little bit of attention as we begin to reawaken. You might bring your hands to touch that space if that works. Just allowing the touch of your hands to help reignite an outer awareness. And then you could deepen your breath. And if you're in that Baddha Konasana position, reach down and grab the knees and draw the knees together with the hands to help the legs come back. And if you've got that ramp built up, when you turn to your side, you could actually twist and then lay on the ramp. Or you could just turn to your side and roll off of the ramp completely if you'd like. But just taking a moment to tip sideways to help counterbalance that little bit of a back bend. And then we'll just close up the practice in a seat very briefly. So however it is that you want to come to a seat so that you can check in with yourself and close up the space together in community. You could bring hands to heart center. And simply bow your chin down towards your hands. Thank yourself for your work. Anything you do for your highest good will always be for the highest good of the entire world. Remember your intention if you set one today. And then close the practice with a bow in gratitude, saying thank you for whatever pops into your mind. And then thanks for being here. Good to have you here.